Through the first 8 games at just 23 years old, Anthony Edwards is chasing history. And if you've been paying attention this year, early on, it was actually a criticism a lot of people had of Anthony Edwards, that he's taking too many threes. And although it's a small sample size, nobody saw this coming, and he's proving them wrong, shooting 45.7% from 3 on 11.1 attempts per game. Matter of fact, in NBA history, through their first 8 games of the regular season, Anthony Edwards is already 3rd all-time with 41 made field goals. The rest of that top 5 list is Steph Curry, with his 2018 season being the record at 48 threes. Today in this video, we're going to talk about this newfound aspect to Anthony Edwards' game, if it is sustainable, and also cover, could he potentially make a run at Steph's season-long three-point record? And most of all, how this Minnesota Timberwolves team has looked early on in this season. Let's get right into it. If we take a look at the first 4 years of Anthony Edwards' NBA career, and even coming into his NBA career, there were major question marks on if he could even develop a three-point shot. Matter of fact, in his lone freshman season at Georgia, he would shoot just 29.4% from 3 on 7.7 attempts. And in his rookie season, we saw a little bit improvement, but still below league average, shooting 32.9% from 3 on 8.1 attempts per game. As a sophomore, that would improve ever so slightly to closer to that league average, 35.7% on 8 attempts per game as well. And over the next 2 seasons, it kind of hovered around that same 36-37%. So he's never been a bad three-point shooter, but he's also never been an extremely good one either. Like I said in the intro, this year he's shooting an absurd 46.1% on 10.9 threes per game. And this has been at least partly by design. Ant even mentioned a week ago in one of his post-game interviews that when he's taking catch and shoot threes, even pull up threes, that's a lot less stress on his knees getting downhill, grinding points in the paint, and being physical. And so I think over the course of an entire NBA season, Ant taking more threes is going to make him a lot more fresh, his body more fresh for the playoffs. But it's also deeper than that. I think a huge part of Anthony Edwards taking these threes also is Julius Randle's unique ability to pass and find people. A lot of defenses have been crashing down on Julius Randle into the paint, and he has found Ant quite a few times this year for open threes. That's something that wasn't really Karl-Anthony Towns' strong suit or his game. Even when Cat would get a double on him, he would struggle to make a decision and he would end up passing it too late. Julius Randle is much better at passing. But with that being said, it's unbelievable to think in just his 5th NBA season, one of the league's best downhill get to the rim guys is shooting like Steph Curry from 3. Like I mentioned in the beginning, he is 3rd overall all time in threes made through 8 games to start a season with 41. It's only Steph around him. It's pretty insane that he's doing this. And honestly, he's also doing it while this offense is learning each other. Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo are still learning how to fit and play with these guys. It's only going to get better from an offensive standpoint for these Timberwolves. This is something Ant has never really had in his entire NBA career. Both Julius and Donte DiVincenzo really opened things up for Ant. Hopefully we'll see at some point here Donte DiVincenzo take over the starting point guard role over Mike Conley. I mean, maybe Chris Finch doesn't do it just because of Conley's seniority. However, Donte DiVincenzo has looked incredible, playing about 28 minutes per game, and the Wolves have to find a way to play him more. With that being said, I personally do not see how Anthony Edwards gets worse on the offensive end going forward as the system gets better, as the flow, the chemistry gets better over the course of about 20 to 30 games. I feel like he's only going to get more comfortable and have more space out there to work. If you remember last year in the playoffs with the Nuggets, with the Suns, and even the Mavs, teams would just load up on Ant so he couldn't get downhill going to the rim. You can't really do that now. I mean, for one, when you have Donte DiVincenzo in there, one pass away, it changes everything. And number 2, Julius Randle is an offensive threat himself, a serious one. And so when he has the ball, defenses are crashing, they're playing off him, and it allows Ant to have more space. I do think one thing that's kind of hilarious about Ant's season this year is Today's video is brought to you by Autograph. Autograph is the first of its kind app that rewards your fandom for your favorite NBA teams. The way it works is it curates a feed inside the app of your favorite creators from your favorite NBA team, and the more you engage with it, the more coins you earn, which unlock giveaways like this Jason Tatum signed jersey. And when it comes to playoff time, playoff tickets. They gave a lot of playoff tickets away on this channel just last year. But my favorite part is a new feature they added called Rooms. We've created a Hardwood room in partnership with them, and I will be live inside of that room for various NBA games throughout the season, including next Friday, the 15th, 1 hour before Timberwolves Kings, which is an NBA Cup group play game. I'm excited about it. And so what are you waiting for? Head over to Autograph. You already are a fan. You might as well get rewarded for it. Thanks to Autograph for sponsoring this video. Let's get right back into it. As incredible as he's been on the offensive end, he's averaging 28 points per game, 5.9 rebounds, 3.4 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 62%. Funny thing is, he's doing that while shooting very poorly from the free throw line. It's super uncharacteristic of him. Matter of fact, he's shooting just 65.8% from the line. He needs to get there more as well. He's only shooting 4.8 free throws, which is 1.6 less attempts per game since last year, where he made 83.6% of his free throws. We'll get into Minnesota as a team here in a second on the offensive end because it has been a lot better. But one troubling thing about Minnesota through the early part of this year is that the defense just is not there like it was last year. Matter of fact, they were the #1 defense in the entire NBA all season last year, including their first 8 games, but also at the end of the year. This year, defensively, they're ranked just 15th in defensive rating, and so that does concern me. Obviously, when you trade a guy that's as important to your team as Karl-Anthony Towns 3 weeks before the NBA season starts, you're going to have to figure out something new when it comes to identity, or it's at least going to affect your identity. Take time to figure it out. And that's because they don't really have a true backup 5 with Cat gone now. And so when Rudy Gobert's not in the game for about 15 to 16 minutes a game, it's Naz Reid and Julius Randle. When Rudy's on the court, the Wolves have a 108 defensive rating. When he's off the court, that drops down to 117.2. And what's even crazier is when Julius Randle's on the court, their defensive rating is 119. When he's off the court, it drops all the way down to 94. Honestly, I think Julius can get there, but this is a culture thing. This is something the Wolves were able to develop over last year as a culture, people flying around. I heard Dane Moore say this best talking with Adam Mars on the All NBA podcast. Julius just isn't there yet. He doesn't understand the Wolves culture when it comes to playing defensively. So I'm hoping that they can get there. That being said, to Julius's credit, he has the highest offensive rating on the team at 120.9. And when he's off the court, the team has a terrible offensive rating of 104.4. So he really is opening up the offense for the rest of this team. They just have to figure out a way to shore that up defensively. Jaden McDaniels has also had a really rough start to this season. He has some of the worst advanced metrics and some of the worst plus minuses on the team. Meanwhile, coming off the bench, Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been phenomenal. He has a team high net rating of 20.5. The Wolves have a 99.7 defensive rating when he's on the floor and a 120.2 offensive rating. Donte DiVincenzo has been incredible to start this season as well for this team, coming off the bench. Second in the team in net rating at 11.7. That's why I say I think at some point Finch has to adjust this starting lineup. I don't think you take Jaden McDaniels out of the starting lineup, but I do think you take out Mike Conley, put in Donte DiVincenzo, because if we take a look at 5-man lineups this year for the Wolves, the actual starters, Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, have a net rating of -5.8 on the floor together this year. And of course, that is the largest sample size, so take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. There's 104 minutes played between those guys, but I think it matches the eye test that this specific group doesn't really seem to play all that well together. Every other 5-man lineup the Wolves have played more than 15 minutes this season actually has a positive net rating, but that's to be expected with a new team. I really think they'll figure this out within the first 20 games. And there is something to be said about this offense as a whole. They're 6th in the NBA right now. While last year they were ranked 12th and they slowly got there throughout the year, the offense was the problem. The defense was the solution. This year, if you're a Wolves fan, I think the hope is that the defense gets a lot better with Julius Randle buying in and Chris Finch, Micah Nori figuring out how to defend the paint, defend the rim without Rudy Gobert in the game, which I do have full faith in them being able to do. It's just, I don't think they're going to be a top 5 defense this year. I think the goal is probably get to like maybe 7th through 9th and then have a top 5 offense. And 3-point shooting as a whole for the Wolves this year has been massive. They're 3rd in the league in percentage with 40.1% they're shooting from 3, but they're also taking the 5th most in the NBA, which is a far cry from last year's team that was, I think, in the bottom 5 in the entire NBA. With that being said, it's going to be fun to watch Anthony Edwards this year, knowing that he is on pace to have one of the best 3-point shooting seasons of all time. We'll see if he can keep it up. Obviously, he's going to go through some stretches where he doesn't shoot it well. However, 46% on 11 attempts per game through 8 games. Nothing to be shy about. This shot is for real. And when it comes to playoff time and Anthony Edwards really starts utilizing that downhill 3-level scoring of getting to the rim, those middies, and pulling up from 3, it's about as terrifying as almost anyone in the NBA if he's shooting 45%. So with that being said, guys, we're going to watch this throughout the year. I do have hope for the Timberwolves. I think it's just going to take a little time as long as they find ways to win while they figure it out, which they've been doing, being 5-3. That's about all you can ask for from a newer team, but only time will tell. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, we have more videos coming out soon. I'm currently making a video on the Denver Nuggets bench problem, and I also am making a video on Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz's secret plan to tank for Cooper Flag. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see ya on the hardwood.